In New York City, billionaire tech CEO Richard Hale had built an empire that dominated global markets, but inside his luxurious penthouse, he felt completely powerless. His 8-year-old daughter, Emily, had changed drastically after her mother passed away. Once cheerful and curious, she had become distant, angry, and impossible to calm. No matter what Richard tried, nothing seemed to reach her anymore. Emily's behavior grew worse with time. She would scream, throw things, and refuse to listen to anyone. The best therapists in the country had been hired, but each one eventually gave up, unable to break through her emotional walls. At school, teachers struggled daily, and some even resigned, unable to manage her unpredictable outbursts. Richard tried to replace her pain with comfort. Expensive toys, trips, and everything money could offer, but it only made things worse. Emily didn't want luxury. She wanted something he couldn't figure out how to give. The distance between father and daughter kept growing, filling their home with silence and tension. One afternoon, during an important meeting at Hale Enterprises, chaos erupted in the lobby. Emily had been brought in by a caretaker, but something triggered her anger. She began shouting loudly, knocking over decorations, and refusing to calm down. Employees stepped back nervously, unsure of what to do. Security guards approached cautiously, but Emily only became more aggressive. She kicked, screamed, and pushed anyone who came near her. The entire office froze, watching the scene unfold. Richard rushed downstairs, frustration and helplessness written all over his face, as he saw his daughter completely out of control. Just as the situation seemed to spiral further, a quiet figure stepped forward. Mark, a janitor who had been cleaning nearby, paused and looked at Emily with calm understanding. Unlike everyone else, he didn't seem afraid or annoyed. He simply walked closer and sat down on the floor a few feet away from her. At first, people were confused. Why would a janitor involve himself in such a situation? But Mark didn't try to stop her forcefully or raise his voice. Instead, he spoke softly, as if talking to someone who truly needed to be heard rather than controlled. He began sharing a simple story about his own life, about losing someone he loved and how hard it felt to carry that pain every day. His voice was steady, filled with honesty and quiet strength. Slowly, Emily's screams faded, replaced by curious silence. For the first time in months, Emily stopped fighting. She looked at Mark, not with anger, but with attention. The room fell completely silent, as everyone watched in disbelief. The girl who had rejected every expert was finally listening, because someone had chosen to understand her instead of control her. Richard stood frozen, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. The same child who had pushed away every expert and ignored every command was now quietly listening to a janitor. There was no force, no authority, just calm understanding. In that moment, Richard realized something he had been missing all along. After that day, Richard approached Mark with a mix of curiosity and hope. He asked him to spend more time with Emily, even offering extra pay. Mark hesitated at first, unsure if he was the right person, but he agreed, not for money, but because he saw a child who needed genuine care. Mark didn't use complicated methods or professional techniques. Instead, he gave Emily something simple yet powerful: his time, patience, and honesty. He spoke to her like a person, not a problem. He listened when she was quiet and stayed calm when she felt overwhelmed. Slowly, her walls began to fall, and days turned into weeks, and Emily started changing. Her anger became less frequent, her voice softer, and her eyes brighter. She began to smile again, something that had disappeared after her mother's death. Even the staff at Hale Enterprises noticed the difference, whispering in amazement about her transformation. At home, the atmosphere also began to shift. Emily started spending more time with her father, sitting beside him during dinner instead of isolating herself. One evening, she gently held Richard's hand and whispered, "I feel okay now." Those simple words meant more to him than any business success ever could. Richard finally understood that no amount of wealth could replace emotional connection. He'd been trying to fix Emily's pain with comfort and control, but what she truly needed was someone who understood her feelings. Mark had given her that without expecting anything in return, and that made all the difference. Grateful beyond words, Richard offered Mark a high-ranking position in his company, along with a significant salary increase. To his surprise, Mark politely declined. He explained that he valued his dignity and simplicity, and that his role as a father mattered more than any title or wealth. Instead, Richard chose another way to show his appreciation. He arranged for Mark's son to receive the best education possible, ensuring a brighter future for his family. It was a gesture of respect, not charity, something Mark accepted with quiet gratitude. In the end, Richard learned a lesson no business deal had ever taught him. True healing doesn't come from power, money, or status. It comes from empathy, patience, and human connection, often found in the most unexpected people, in the most ordinary moments of life.